look the part, but let's see some of your moves.
Free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess, everything's alright. Oh, no job but an answer to. Ain't a fixture in the palace zoo. No, and since the carpet nights off me, I'm living life now that I'm free. Yeah, told me get myself together. Now I got myself together. Now I made it through the weather. Better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy the current night is gone. I'm moving on. I'm so happy that it's over now. The pain is gone. I'm putting on my shades to cover up my eyes. I'm jumping in my ride.
I almost hit end stream like an idiot.
It's your first day on the job?
I know, right? Let me fix. Why is our... there we go. I don't know. This is our Road to Celebration episode. Or as we call it, John... You hear me? John's nervous breakdown.
Yep, I can hear you. God, no kidding.
I can't hear Ken.
Uh-oh.
He's
what was
the
that?
professional of all of us.
What happened? What did I break?
There, we hear you. There we hear you. No, I was invited to Keith and Kerwin's to do a quick birthday surprise for Kerwin today. And so I was like, I was running. I couldn't. They were using StreamYard. I couldn't get StreamYard to work here, so I ran up into my office, the least Star Wars room of the house, and did it there. So
he's what, 12 now?
Keith is. I think no, it wasn't Keith's birthday. Keith is 10 or 11. Kerwin's my age. He's like 2 months younger than me. So
I'm getting the K's all mixed up.
So it's like, one more person that people are like, oh, I can't believe you're the same age. Looking at me like, grandpa. So
old man Han.
That's it. I don't know. But yeah, John, it's your exciting road to celebration. John's going to be as gray as me in the next 3 weeks.
I have actually plucked out more gray hairs than I'm willing to admit over the last week.
So.
Well, you got to stop reading Mike's emails and text messages.
Oh, my God.
He's going to make you even more nervous.
No, listen. So here's your ticket situation. Your ticket, you should just get an email with your ticket verification. Then you'll have to go. We'll go pick our tickets up Thursday.
Well, hold on a second. Let's go back 6 steps because I don't think our listeners know what you're talking about.
Oh, so John. So Zoe has a panel on Celebration, and John got a panel on Celebration, and
I got a very late invitation.
Very late invitation. That you must. It's you got a late invitation, and so you're like cutting it close.
Hold on. Let's. It's not that I got a late invitation. I never got an invitation. I just got a, hey, thanks for coming. We can't wait to see you. It's like, oh, cool.
Did you check your spam folder, your junk mail, any of that stuff?
I have typed everything in from London to Star Wars Celebration to Read Pop to Content Team. I never got anything saying that, like, hey, we can't wait to see you.
All that matters is you got that email. That's
right.
The email
Well, you know what?
matters.
It's funny because they must have skipped the step with you or something because, like I had to send in and verify that I was still interested.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got the one email, and then we were scrambling like you were scrambling, and I got the one email. So that's great. I mean, so John's you're on the stage Sunday.
Sunday at 12:30.
Sunday at 12:30.
Obviously, London time.
So that means
according to Big Ben,
7:30.
I think 7:30 a.m. is when I will be live Eastern Standard.
I'll be there. I'm putting together my equipment bag of stuff I need to take. John. So we're going to talk. I think today we'll at least talk celebration probably more than most. I don't know what our top. Did we even have a topic for today?
You don't pay attention.
You probably told me. And listen, okay, let's go right into our off topic.
No, you told us.
I know. Well, here's how my week went. It started with, I think, Sunday night. I lift the toilet seat or the toilet back to put a one of those tablets you put in the back. You know, the thing that holds the water. It shoots out, and water's shooting out of my toilet. Right. So that's my Sunday. That's Sunday. And then Zoe also says Sunday, my car is making a scraping sound when I hit the brakes. So I was like, oh, okay, must be the screechers. I get in, it sounds like the rotor is being hit with just straight metal. So my Monday was changing brakes and fixing that.
See, now this is the inflatable Falcon that we've come to know and love.
Yes. Well, when I work on cars, it always invokes Star Wars. Because I always think Han Solo was able to keep the Falcon flying. I can keep my pieces of junk flying. And so that was my Monday. And then Tuesday, I had to rebuild our washing machine. And so like today, I'm just like, I don't really have anything to do. And then, I was running around doing the other. So it was just a weird week. So what topic did I say we were going to talk about?
This is Mandalorian March.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, okay.
We were going to talk about the Mandalorian mercs.
Yes. Oh, yes. Mandalorian mercs. Yes. I'm sorry. Yes. So we want to talk about the mercs. But before we talk about the mercs, we should talk about John's road to celebration. Because he might not be with us long after he has a heart attack from doing all this.
I know.
Either that or he's going to get picked up by one of the Belgian prop builders and move to Europe.
You know what? Here's my fear/hope for John. He's going to go from this 2022 was such a Star Wars year for John, even though he might not, even though Star Wars has been in your life. Like you think about it, you started a podcast 500 first, your dad's in 500 first, and you're on celebration stage.
Yeah, the last 365 days have been wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have Mike to thank or blame for all of it, or much of it.
It all stems from Mike.
Does it really? I don't think so.
Let's come on. To take some responsibility here.
Come on, you literally just commented on my Facebook page saying that I was too modest.
Well, I know. Listen. I try to teach Zoe this. You have to promote. If you're backing up what you're doing, it's not bragging. So promote, my man, promote. Okay, you're backing it up anyway. So you have the trip to a couple random thoughts about this. This is my worries for John. 7.5 hours without your e-cigarette.
Oh my God! Trust me, I was booking my flight yesterday.
So you might want to think maybe this would be your first attempt at trying to quit.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I don't. If the Sky Marshal goes to close it because you did something in the bathroom, I'm just going to tell them to throw you out of the plane.
Well, so I was going to book my tickets yesterday. Yeah. Or no, this is Monday.
Yeah.
And I saw on the list of like rejected items, I saw e-cigarettes, and I'm like, oh my God, am I going to have to go this entire trip totally sober? I'm going to die. And then I was talking to my friend, and she was like, you just can't have it in your checked bag. I'm like,
don't they sell them in Europe?
I'm sure they do. However, being on a flight for 8 hours is going to be rough. So I'm going to invest. I'm going to either go back to chewing tobacco, which I don't care if it grosses out the person next to me. I'll get nicotine patches, or I'll get gum.
Yeah, I was going to say, get some gum or something. I don't want to accidentally think your chew bottle was my iced tea one time.
That's true. However, I do think we are on the same flight,
I do. I was looking at it. I do think we were on the same flight. And the other thing is, so Zoe registered all our tickets in a group.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll figure that out because we have that fourth ticket. I told her just register that anyway, because we're might use that for a guest. We're working on a guest right now. But
no, John, you
would put us in the same group. I'm sorry, what? You can come, Ken.
I invited you, Ken. I told you I had an extra ticket.
No, you didn't. Where did I did not get that message.
On Thursday.
And I think I have an extra floor, Ken. I think I have extra floor.
Yeah, I didn't see that message anywhere in that mix.
I told you I put
No,
in
I
for an
think he
extra
said it on the
ticket.
show. I think he said it live.
He couldn't have said maybe now he said it live, but I didn't.
No, but I think he said it before. I thought he said it either in our pre-show or after-show talk one time. I don't know. Anyway, so I was worried about that with the e-cigarette there for you, John.
Hold
And,
on. I've got receipts. It was March 9th at 7:49. Dumb question, but do I need to respond to the email they sent me and tell them I just need one ticket, in parentheses, unless Ken wants to join?
I didn't see that mix. I stand corrected.
Not too late, Ken, because I think he submitted for 2 tickets.
I did indeed.
Yeah, you realize Heather's probably watching right now, and she would kill me if I told her I could buy tickets to Europe.
Say surprise.
Yeah, I'm not going on that family vacation to Chicago this year.
Hey, airfare is pretty cheap, all things considered.
But yeah, and you have so I started looking at all the podcasts on the stage, and what's nice is they have 2 HoloNet stages this time. So there's a half hour between each show, where before your time was, I think it was staggered weird. So you basically had to, we gotta go because the next one's coming in, you know. So and the dad batch is on Friday at the end of the day. The schedule for the HoloNet is all up. So anyone listening, yeah, you have to go to I forget what it's called, explore the show, and then there's a little matrix. Click on HoloNet and then search, and it'll show you the whole schedule.
Show panels and screenings? No,
not panels. You have to click on. There's a big search engine and click on HoloNet.
Arc 77 said he might go to Celebration.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Now, yeah, I'm curious. I'm just curious to see what a European celebration looks like.
It's probably a lot like an American celebration.
Just I'm just curious what a celebration's going to look like.
Yeah, well, John, you're gonna hate and thank us both, because I feel once you go, man, it's a tough one.
My head's going to explode the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So now we absolutely have to cancel the episode because I can't fly the Falcon by myself.
Wait, or if we could get it to work on a phone. See, I got to figure out this. I got to figure out. So streaming wise, I'll just stream live from my phone. That's what I did for Zoe's last time. That's just the easiest. That's the other thing, John. You have to check on your internet provider. I mean, your phone provider, and switch to an international plan. I forget how much it is per day, but
so the nice thing about Verizon is I actually because of the plan that I'm on, I get every month I get a credit for 1 day international.
Oh, nice.
So
that's good.
So I get 2 gigabytes a day at the highest speed, and then the rest is 3G. But I've got 13 credits.
Nice.
13 days, so I won't end up having to pay anything, thankfully.
Well, that's the other thing. We'll have Thursday and Friday to play around with all the settings. Like I'm bringing a couple juice packs. I'm going to bring a camera to SD card record probably, and I'll bring at least 1 Zoom recorder, so we can plug the Zoom recorder into the panel and get a clean audio recording of each of our shows. So I just get some SD cards and mini SD cards, and we'll figure out. I'm not taking a computer or anything like that.
No,
because you got to pack 2 helmets.
What'd you say?
You got to pack 2 helmets.
Yeah, well, I got to pack. Yeah, well, Safi's carrying all hers. Whatchamacallit's pretty easy. Fennec is pretty easy. She can practically put all the soft goods in a helmet, so Fennec is relatively easy. And then Ahsoka is what Zoe will carry, and then I'm probably going to put Sabine in my carry-on, because I just as a father, I know when Zoe gets there and sees all these Sabines, she's going to want Sabine. So Then we're gonna hang out with Jonah and a couple other the people that are, and Judah. And well, no, Jonah's not going. I don't think this year.
John, be prepared to write down a lot of names. So when you're with your phone, you're going to be writing down these names in the little like notepad, Google pages or whatever. You're going to meet like 753 people on the first day alone because Mike's going to introduce you to all these folks.
Well, or I'll be terrible and forget to introduce you, depending on how me and Zoe are running. But I'll say, "Hey, this is John," and I'll just forget who they are. But no, well, the other thing is, I'm going to try to sit in on some more of the podcast stage panels, too. You know, because there's some like Full of Sith is going to be there, so I like to see Holly. What's that happiness?
I found the Beskar bucket panel information.
I know, right? See?
Oh, that's exciting.
I tell you, I remember when Zoe got her first panel, man. I was just like, I had never been to Celebration. My first celebration was going to Zoe's panel in Orlando, and it was magic.
I'm just glad I'm glad the times line up well, where it's like, you know, we don't have to rush to one another's. Like I'll be able to go to the dad batch to Zoe, and then obviously host my own.
Yep,
and you know, vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah, the dad batch, I'm glad theirs is on Friday. I think John froze. Oh, there he goes.
There we go. I don't know what the last thing you heard was.
You were just saying how they're all spread out.
Mm-hmm. It's nice that it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday because like the only ones that I really obviously want to go to are the dad batch and Zoe's panel and obviously my own. But it's nice that they're on separate days.
Well, and again, like when we got Steele for Anaheim, we ran into Steele probably 3 or 4 hours before her panel and said, "Hey, do you want to do her panel again?" You know what I mean? Like we were just like, "What the hell?" You know?
Right.
And Anthony's going to be there, so you get to meet Anthony in person. Our one of our top 5 forces behind Star Wars people. So, and you know, and Ken, I want to hear about this ponytail that I heard on your podcast.
Yeah, so there was a time when I had long blonde hair.
Really?
Yeah.
Hold on. First off, I think I missed an episode of the Rambling Star Wars Fan.
The newest one.
Yeah, the newest one. I did an episode with my friend Clem from Sydney.
I want to say it was a hard one to listen to in a good way. Like a lot of times I'm driving and, you know, you can kind of catch the gist. I found myself rewinding in a couple times because I was in that driving mode, you know. Yeah,
I mean, Clem's a political science guru, and so it was probably the most academic episode that we've ever recorded. He was talking about political theorists and psychologists and all connected to the stuff that we see on the screen for Andor.
Well, and I think Andor and George Lucas's original Star Wars, if you listen to your podcast, and then it made me think, I was like, I think George either on purpose, but either by on purpose or by mistake, thought about everything a lot, but wrote very little. You know, like he wrote what you needed to know, but I felt like he had a bigger picture. And I felt like Andor was the same way. Like Andor felt like there was even more. Even though Andor was super thick and heavy, there was even more there.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about Star Wars is there's so much room for more, either philosophically speaking, historically speaking, or even just story-wise. These characters can go to other places, do other things. There are things happening in the galaxy right now that we don't know about, and we could do a story about them.
And like I always think back of like Princess Leia's hair in New Hope was rumored to be inspired by the freedom fighters, the women from South America. You know what I mean? Like that, because, you know, if you had to look into the hairstyle, you probably looked into a little bit of what they did.
You betcha. Even some of George's earlier works where they were much, much smaller in scale, they brought in history and things along those lines. So George was really thoughtful, and I think that many of the makers today are as thoughtful, if not maybe more so, because they have to take into account technologies that weren't available to George when he first made them.
Well, and look at the Mandalorian today. Like that was right out of late 1940s, early 50s space race with the Americans trying to assimilate the Nazi scientists that they needed. You know.
Well, and even the space battle that you saw, that was I thought it was a throwback to some of the ways that they used to do them in movies before.
Oh yeah. The when he flew straight up, pulled his engines down. Yeah. Oh, that was so good. Without getting to move us into our Mandalorian episode, from John's adventures to
hang on. I need some off-topic time, real quick.
Oh, well, listen. See, just
you've just stepped onto the inflatable Falcon. Everything's off topic.
Of course. So we are all collectors of some variety, and I think I finally found my holy grail non-Star Wars collection piece.
What is it?
I have finally found the Philip J. Fry Funko
there you go.
Pop.
Nice.
So
where did you find that?
Well, okay. So we have a store here. It's I think I've talked about it before, but it's called The Exchange.
Yeah.
Buy, sell, trade, music, movies, comics, all that jazz. And they've had it for months, because I go once a week with a friend of mine. It's just kind of part of our Wednesday ritual. And they've had it for 3, 4, 5 months now. And they had it for $75, which I always thought was steep. And so last week I had asked them, like, hey, do you guys ever come down on these prices at all? They're like, yeah, we try and reprice things here and there. And then once we left, I looked it up. I'm like, that's way too much for this. So I went back in today and I asked the manager, I'm like, look, Funko even says it's worth $55. Here are completed listings on eBay in great condition going for $55 or less. Like, what can you do? And she was like, all right, well, let me take a look. So she strokes a few keys on her keyboard and she's like, how does $45 sound? I'm like, sold. I've got $15 in-store credit to use as well. I will take this for $30. So I'm very happy.
Leaving money on the table.
Right. So I have been looking for the Futurama, because I don't remember when they actually made these, but it's been a while.
John's next pilgrimage is the Funko store in LA.
Oh my god. I have
Where
already
you can make
told
the
myself,
custom ones?
I've already told myself that I'm not buying any trinkets. I'm going to limit myself to a t-shirt because I need to feed myself.
Well, I'm just limited to what I can carry home, because we don't have any checked bags. Ours are all
I don't either.
Ours are all carry on, and I don't feel like paying for another bag.
Yeah,
like I said, I'm
I think you guys are missing out.
Huh?
I think you guys are setting yourself up for disappointment.
I didn't buy anything at the last celebration. I was there for networking and meeting people.
Yeah, but my point is, when was the last time, or when's the next time that you're going to go to London for a 2023 celebration?
Never. I know.
Never.
I'll probably buy a t-shirt,
Yeah.
And like there's like that art of Sabine that you showed me is really nice, but I'm like, I have a giant stack of art that I need to sell because I just don't have any more walls. I got to buy another house with more walls. I need a 6-sided house. But well, I'm glad you got Fry though. Maybe you should dress up as Fry. You just dress up as like when Howard took his Cylon to Celebration Chicago. He's like walking around in a Cylon.
So I did order a costume to take with me if it comes in time.
The
Oh yeah, you want to be part of the
Which
swim
one?
team.
What'd you say, Ken?
You want to be part of the Narkina 5 swim team.
Yep.
is that what you
I
ordered?
ordered the prisoner costume. Not super hopeful that it shows up in time because it was the expected the expected arrival date was between the 27th and April 10th.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't put that pressure on me. I looked at that and I was like, because I'm tempted to build one like the one guy from the Dad Batch did. Just go buy 2 of those paper paint suits at Harbor Freight, and then he just put orange tape on down the line. So,
yep. Maybe
yeah,
if it doesn't show up, I might do that.
Yeah, I mean, I got to get Ahsoka done. That's my Friday. That's like weighing on me. But the weather has not been. I hate painting when it's damp and cold because you just spray that one extra little and it
Ruins the whole thing.
So, how'd your thing with Dex go?
Oh, Demetrius?
Yeah, I mean, Demetrius. Yeah,
Yeah. So I just interviewed him tonight. It was awesome. I didn't realize he'd been to the ranch and spent as much time there as he has.
Yeah, Marty was at the ranch, and I just got to know those guys when they got invited out to the ranch. I was like, but we'll see. One of these days, I'll get there.
And it was
Either it'd be in a van like in that Fanboys, or
I was joking around because he has a friend who works there now at Skywalker Sound. I said, "Do you think he would pull a Han Solo and let us hide in the floorboards?"
Yeah. Skywalker Sound. Well, I'm telling you, I still look just like you were saying last week, or maybe you were saying on your podcast that you applied for one of those. I still look at those jobs. I'm like, there's going to be one of these ones that hits. I wish when Zoe would have applied for the one at the Skywalker Sound, she would have talked to me before she did her second interview, because she mainly didn't get it because she didn't know some of the terminologies of the wires and the cords. She didn't get the internship. I was like, oh man, I could have really helped you out. I might not know how they work, but I know what they're called.
Yeah, the thingamabob and the doohickey don't necessarily get you technical jobs these days.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, watching The Mandalorian today, and now I remember we were talking about the Mando Mercs, especially when they had. I love the previously on, but I wish they would stop doing that.
I skip it every time now.
Yeah, because it's reminding, like, what's happening. Now it's almost like become a game in my brain. Okay, they're showing me this. Why? And but I knew something was up when Bo didn't take her helmet off, though, because every other time in that show, she took her helmet off as soon as she could.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm just gonna come out and say it. I was very underwhelmed with
really
The Mandalorian today. I loved the beginning and the end. However, the main meat and potatoes of this episode, I was just like, all right, I like the world building. But after last week's episode,
I like the meat and potatoes part because of two things. I like the High Republic shout out to when they showed the top of the mountain on Coruscant. I like that. And I liked it because I'm not 100% sure why they're building it. What they built. I know they're world building. I don't know which world they built now, which I'm happy that I don't know.
Right.
Like, I'm confused who's working for who, but we did hear that Gideon got loose. More than
well, and the female character was working with Gideon.
Yeah, but I don't understand. did she just make sure there's no cloning available because they already know what they want to do? And they didn't want it in the hands of the Republic? Or did she want him to show what he had to gather, and now she's going to go get it from another starship?
No, I thought she got it.
Well, no, but she had to turn it over to those guys.
Yeah, we don't know if those guys are also in on it.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
could, I had the Saw Gerrera going off in my head again. Lies every day, more lies. Like,
So, but I understand what you're saying, John, in the sense that it started out so fast paced, and then it came like it almost would have been better if they would have started with all the world building and put all the Mando stuff at the end.
Yeah. I feel like after last week's episode, they left you with such a cliffhanger, and then they didn't touch on it at all.
no, they
we're gonna
did.
have to call John.
Well,
are you one of those
a little
filler
bit.
guys?
No,
No,
it's because it's not that it.
fake fan.
I wish that it would have been, like you said, in a different order.
Yeah,
Like, I wish they would have done all the Mando stuff either first or last, instead of breaking it up. Because like the whole episode, I was sitting there like, well, what now? I don't care what's going on with Dr. Pershing. I need to know what's happening with Mando.
but
So I feel like that's kind of why I got into that mindset of like, oh, I'm just kind of underwhelmed, because I feel like they, like you said, it just came to a grinding halt.
yeah,
So
but they I think most people were wrong about the armor in Bo-Katan. Because there was people pitting like the armorer was going to be the new bad guy, or Bo-Katan was going to be the new bad guy, or somehow there was going to be a conflict and stuff. And I have a feeling Bo-Katan was abandoned by all her people, and then she was accepted by these people just due to a simple ritual.
Well, what's interesting about the acceptance, it's not an acceptance that she wants.
Right. But kind of she needs, because she just lost her home.
Well, needs and wants aren't necessarily the same.
That's true.
And all of those folks that were on her side before, they're still out there somewhere.
Yeah.
We don't know if they're all out there together or if they've all scattered to the wind.
See, I think she was the convert in the title scene, because I think she saw the mythosaur. Like, I think her seeing that mythosaur changed her whole belief system.
if I could be awarded my tinfoil hat of the week,
Yes.
My personal theory is that she saw the mythosaur dragged Din under the water and let him go. So I think she either had an epiphany of like, oh, you should be dead, but you're not. So maybe you are the right person to hold the Darksaber because you are the Mandalore.
I have a different tinfoil theory.
Yeah, what's that?
Okay, so you mentioned that you think the mythosaur dragged him down. I don't think the mythosaur dragged him down. I think he simply fell down. She had mentioned that the seismic activity opened up, because you could see in that underwater scene broken stairs.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that it was meant to be a shallower set of steps before. It's not anymore, and Din simply fell.
Yeah, I was going to say that was my cardboard hat theory was, when you're walking down steps and you think you're on the last one, but there's or you don't, and you take that extra. That's what he did. He was just like, and then he tried to catch himself and not look like a fool in front of his Mando friend, and he just went right down.
And when she was asking him if he saw the mythosaur, this may be her opportunity to be the one to ride the mythosaur to herald in the new age of the Mandalore. Yeah. So even though she doesn't have the Darksaber, she may ride the mythosaur, and because there's different pieces to the legend, different pieces to the story, and because right now she doesn't have it because she hasn't won it in battle, maybe this taming of the mythosaur and riding this mythosaur could be the way that she gains favor again.
Yeah. Which brings us to the Mando Mercs. And so I'm thinking, I wish there was like a Mando Mercs armor party like this past weekend after last week's episode. Because I can only imagine, like, basically the show emulated what the Mercs do. If that makes sense.
Well, that first scene in the first episode, there was like 40 mercs on screen at one time. That's the most Mandalorians we've seen. I think, other than maybe the episode where Bo-Katan raised was it Sabine that held the dark saber and all the Mandos kneeled in front of her.
Right, but they were all animated. What I'm saying is, what was neat about that first episode was it was all custom Mandos. Like, you literally, like, if you look on some of the boards, some people think they just got the Mandalorian mercs to stand in, you know, and it's just neat to see, because, which brings us to the Mando mercs. Like, we're all in costuming groups, and the 501st is pretty rigid on what costumes you can do. The Mando mercs are just as rigid, but you can customize them. You know, like, I know you can't mix certain helmets with certain whatever, you know. You can't mix linens with cotton, or I don't know what the.
You don't want to mix colors and whites in the laundry.
Yeah, colors and whites when you wash your armor. But the Mando mercs have just been that creative outlet for the costume people, and I think they're getting their day in the sun right now. And the costumes are just getting, the Mando mercs costumes I see across all the all social media, their costumes are just getting better every day. Like, have you seen Justin Sonnenfeld's custom Mando?
Not recently, no.
It's really nice. It's just unique. It's just and it looks comfortable to wear. It up until the Mandalorian, a lot of the Mando merc stuff didn't look very comfortable to wear, because you either had a butt strap or a crotch thing, or now with the Mando you can actually make something that looks like you could actually wear it.
And sit down. I mean, some of them are, you can sit down without having to adjust your cod piece and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You don't need to carry a jetpack if you don't want to.
And the Mando mercs aren't that old.
No. When did they start?
They've only been around since probably 2006.
Okay. Because I joined in 2007, and the few times we ran into them back then, it was not the Mando mercs of today. In fact,
when they first came into existence, they were actually called the Mandalorian Mercenaries. They were started, the whole group was founded by a gentleman named Todd Hutchins. And just recently, when I say recently, when the Mandalorian became, really popular, Walt Disney actually went to the Mandalorian mercs and said that you can't use the word Mandalorian anymore. So now on their patches and on their other merchandise, it says Mando mercs now.
Ah, that's funny. Well, I mean, Disney's always been decent to the costuming groups if the costuming groups
are decent back.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like so, because I remember when they went to the 501st, they're like, "Can you please try to remove as many firearms as you can from your patches, like your logos for your shirts and stuff like that." And most garrisons, and then they had early on, like when this was before Disney bought it. Early on, there was some 501st patches that had Confederate flags, and they were like, "Yeah, could you remove the Confederate flags, please?" In the 2000s, they were still asking people to do that. But overall, I think Disney has always been pretty decent to the groups. And it's nice because, just like you always say, Ken, and I think you said it in your last podcast, how there's so many different types of Star Wars now, that lends itself to the different groups. Like, if you want to really go into your Mando merc stuff, you have the Book of Boba Fett to a small point, but you have the Mandalorian with all the different costumes and ideas.
Or you could go into the video games with some of the MMO games that are available, those massive, multiplayer online kind of games.
Yeah.
And with 3D printing and everything, now there are dozens of types of helmets that people make, or dozens of gauntlets that folks will have. I've seen ones where they have a slot that you can put an iPhone in. They have a magnet where you could do the little glowy LED shield like you saw Bo-Katan use. I mean, they've really come a long way in what they're able to do.
Well, and to lead into our 3D printer, to go on our off topic. So, Ken, you're going to jump into 3D printing world.
Yeah, at some point soon, yes.
So, me and John will give you advice, but here's my question for you. As a 3D printer person, besides the couple first test prints, what's the first thing you want to print?
I'm probably going to print a helmet.
Okay. Now, my second question is, are you going to learn the software right away, or are you going to just rely on other people's files?
The first thing I print will be just someone's file, but then I want to get into understanding the software, because there are things I would like to modify and manipulate from files that I've seen.
Yeah, well, I've been playing with Blender, and there's a lot of tutorials out there, so that's pretty cool. But there is a lot of files. Like I've looked at, I was like, oh, I should make this helmet, and then there's like 50 people making the helmet. I'm like, okay, I could spend a week for me making one that almost looks as good, or I can pay $10 for a file that someone made, you know.
Yeah. And I'd probably end up subscribing to some of those like the Galactic Armory and some
Galactic
of those
Armory.
places.
And I like Three Demon. I don't know if you ever looked on them.
Not yet.
Three Demons all license free. Like, you can't sell the file, but you can print, cast, mold, whatever you want. So, yeah, 3 Demon is another one. Though I think like casting and molding is fun, and I enjoy that as much as 3D printing. I'm gotten out of that a little more just because of the price. Since COVID, the cost of making molds is ridiculous for, unless you have a market to bang out 20 helmets and sell them at a decent price. A mold is not 100% viable right at the moment.
And that's one of the things I've never fully understood, where if you have the material, it costs X number of dollars, but when folks do the work, it could cost 12X number of dollars.
Well, 3D printing, when I first, I'd spend 7 years when I got into 3D printing, maybe 6 years. I don't know. They had this formula that you were supposed to charge people if you printed them a helmet or printed them anything. And the price was ridiculous, because it was like, well, it takes this many hours. And so a helmet, if you printed someone a helmet, you're supposed to charge them like $175. Now back when I first started printing, filament was close to $50 a spool. So you were a little more, like I still have some friends that print, and they act like if you put a raft or supports down, you're just throwing money away. You're not throwing money away if it prints the first time, and so when you get into it, and there's so many methods of making it nice and smooth anymore that if you run it, I run them slow, which I would recommend, Ken, when you start running on the fine setting. It takes longer, but then you don't have to sand out a million print lines. It's just, you're going to do it one way or the other. And I was trying to convey this to you on email, and anyone listening, if they're looking into printers, I would probably not go any smaller. Now, John might chime in. John's better at filling seam lines and stuff, but I wouldn't go smaller than 300 millimeter by 300 millimeter, to me personally, because if you can always print something small on a bigger printer, but you can't print something super big on a small printer unless you like patching it up. So, And again, John might have more to say about that.
I hate filling in seam lines on
because they never match up. Like if your bed's a little too warm, and it should match up perfectly, and it never, you know what I mean? But if you get I don't know what a CR10 is running. The plus side to CR10, if you buy a CR10 or a CR10 like printer, you can get 90% of the parts on Amazon. So like when my heat thing goes, like something like a fan might go, I could take the fan apart and rewire it, or for $25 I can get the whole new end on Amazon, buy it, get it the next day, and plug everything in and just keep going. That's the plus side to the CR10s.
Yeah.
The downside to the CR10s is they're a Bowden extruder. And depending on what machine it has, it doesn't have a sensor run out and filament and all that. So that's where I like the Soval. The problem with the Soval is if you need to get a part, you almost always have to buy it from Soval. So, but the Soval, if you look at all, I think a Soval's $400 for a Soval 3. And I had one that went bad, and I just got a different one and got it replaced. But my one Soval ran when I was printing for the armor party and stuff. It ran for 2.5 months straight from the day it came out of the box. It just ran.
And is that the one that you can print the full helmet with?
Yeah, you can fit a full helmet. I think I want to say it's 400 by 400 by 500 or something like that millimeter, or 400. I don't know. It's bigger than it'll fit a whole helmet. I can fit a helmet on my CR10, but you have very little wiggle room, because the best printer, I don't care what size it is, your best printing area is about 85% of your print bed. You can print right up to the edges, and I have, but that's where you get the errors a lot of times. So but the Soval, the Soval's a direct drive, so you can run, like I can run rubber filament through it without any problem and stuff like that. And my Soval has a self-leveling sensor, and it has the run out sensor on it too. So
are you planning another summer armor party after
I
Celebration?
am. My summer's weird this year because of Celebration, and then just Zoe. I don't know what Zoe's doing, and that puts all my summer plans, because she could come in May and say, look, I'm moving in June, or she could come in May and say I'm moving in August, and that throws us off too. So I'm trying to, she's been substitute teaching with me, so that's she's making some cash. So teaching right now, I was just at a meeting. They are putting out, normally a school gets, where my wife gets, they get 21 student teachers a year, to student teach. They're expecting it 3. There's such a teacher shortage right now. In the Pennsylvania teaching colleges are putting out, the schools are giving more temporary teaching certificates than the colleges are putting out teachers in Pennsylvania right now.
Holy
For
smokes.
the first time ever. It's just such short, because I love my job, but if I look at the amount of college degrees I had, I could have probably went with a slightly more financially lucrative career, So, though anyone that wants to teach, man, give me a call. I'll gladly. I put in to accept a student teacher next year, so I'll indoctrinate another. The last student teacher I had, we wound up doing a big event at University of Delaware for him. So she had to hear about the 501st every day. So, but yeah, Ken. So when you get into 3D printing, you want to, get whatever filament you buy. I also recommend, when you get into it, Ken, find a filament that works for you. I know it works for me, and just buy that exclusively. I know some guys that go from filament to filament, and you can have a good printer with shitty filament and it not work. Just like you can have a shitty printer with good filament. You know what I mean? Like, you find something that works for you and you get it all dialed in, and just what works for me might not work for John, and what works for John might not work for Marty. Like, you have to
because of the environment.
It's there's so many factors, and depending on what group you go in. So when I got into 3D printing, I'm a believer in, if something's wrong, it's almost always the simplest solution. That's just how I always look at things when I look at cars. So when my printer wouldn't print, if you talk to some guys, they'll be like, okay, well, you need to replace the motherboard, and you need to buy this and this, and they'll tell you 7 things to buy. And then you don't know what the problem was. You just hung a bunch of parts on it, and then it works. But then next time something goes haywire, you don't know what it is. So mine is okay, it's not working. What's the simplest thing I can do to fix it? And then if that doesn't work, then what's the second simplest? And it almost always, my CR10 on paper should not work. I have nothing added to it. I don't even have a glass bed on it. I have the print bed stuck to the metal plate on the CR10. You know, I have no sensors, nothing, and it works. And it's by far it works the most consistently of all my printers. You know, so it's just one of those things where you just kind of have to. And there's days, and John probably knows this, when it's not working, you just can't work on it. You're just be like, okay, I'm gonna wait for 2 days till I'm not mental about it, and then I will sit down and just change.
So-
I change my nozzle. Like
When-
90% of the
when I,
time, it's change your nozzle and
when I make that decision to get one, I'm gonna have to have you guys do a sleepover and
Yeah.
help me set it up and all that stuff.
hang on, you're no sound, John. Come on, you're a professional broadcaster now.
Live on the podcast stage, John from the Best Car Bucket.
He's the mime from the. We can't hear you, John.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
now we got you.
Yeah, no, it's not 90% of the time it's a nozzle issue and you leave it and you come back to it. It's 90% of the time you say, all right, I'm not dealing with this right now. You come back to it 2 days later and the problem is magically gone.
Yep. Yeah. It's I think what hurt a lot of people with 3D printing was they thought it was like a paper printer. You know, you put a piece of paper in, you hit print, and it prints your resume. It's not like, imagine if it was a paper printer, you would have to align every letter before you print it, make sure every piece of paper is the same thickness, and you know, and it's just you know, and it's getting better. I mean, the price is so much cheaper, you know.
Off topic, but what days are y'all flying out?
I am
for celebration.
I thought maybe he was saying we're flying out talking about 3D printers. I thought he was just sticking with the Falcon theme.
That's what I thought.
Wednesday.
Yep.
I'm flying out Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm flying out Wednesday evening.
And we're going to meet in South Carolina because that's the fastest way to get to England.
Yep. Yeah, when you said you were landing and taking the subway, I was like, I can either try and time it up to get to a closer airport with more stops and just be there and just meet you somewhere. But I was like, wait, or I can try and find the same flight, land at the same time at the same airport. And then
Well, I would be really scared if you guys were on the same flight and landed at different times. That would be freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents are real up in arms about like, oh my God, you're flying alone. You're flying, you're going to another. My dad's not worried that I'm going to another country alone.
Yeah.
He's worried that I'm flying alone.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I stuck Zoe. I think Zoe was in high school and I just stuck her on a plane to. I was like, have fun when you go visit Lizzie. So,
Yeah. Well,
My
nobody
first-
in our family has flown in at least 23 years. Well, no, my mother has. That's right.
it's not as scary as you think, but it is. It's not nearly as luxurious as you think either. Like you're just, I think
Yeah,
that.
gone are the days where everybody wears suit coats.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that I'm extremely tired that day, and when I get on that plane, I fall asleep.
Yep. That's kind of what I'm hoping too, because I'm flying out of Cleveland at 7:45.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
We're flying out of Baltimore. I think at 8 something.
Jeez. Evening flights though, that's just like, it's kind of backwards from how everyone usually complains about it, but
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited to see London, but again, when Safi, she's like a needs 8 hours sleep kind of person. Me and Zoe are just like, okay, if you're one of those people that have to eat at certain times of the day, you're going to get extremely annoyed with me and Zoe.
no, I'm so this is a little bit back, but my parents are also there. They were like, "Oh, what all are you gonna see?" And I told them like, "I'm going to see the inside of the Excel London Convention Center and the airports that I'm in."
Nah,
Yeah.
you're.
Well,
my guesstimate is that you're going to spend time staying up late at night, getting caught up in the flood of people, and you're going to get pictures of random places that you never anticipated.
Well, and
True.
we're like it's like a 10 to 15 minute walk from our hotel right down the street to the whatever center. whatever it's called. Because I went on Google Street View and walked it. Just so it's not a rough walk. So
and we're all traveling light, so that's also a plus.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I got to think of. I got to get some kind of shoulder bag or something like that to carry all the sound equipment. And I already had one person ask me if I can pick something up for them. So I was like, well, I was like, okay, he's a friend of mine. I was like, yeah, sure. But it's a poster. I said, but it has to be in a tube. I said, I can't take anything that I have to worry about it being crushed.
Mm-hmm.
If you pay for it and they're waiting for me in a tube, I will take it if it fits in my bag. If it won't fit in my bag, I can't do it.
Right. Yeah, I have plenty of people who are like, oh my God, how are you going to bring home all this stuff? It's like, well, I'm not going to bring home anything that will be destroyed in a backpack on a plane.
Yeah.
So,
worst case, I'll just leave some clothes. I'm like, I don't know. Like the Irish, there's an Irish podcast after Zoe's, which I might listen to. Oh, the other thing is, John, if you have merch from your garrison, if you can get some clean, brand new shirts, you can trade them for other garrisons. Marty always takes merch from Karita and trades it with the Belgians because they have some cool shirts. So,
yeah, I'm waiting on. I've got 15 coins because we did an Apollo base / Ohio Garrison cross coin.
Yeah,
where we took the Apollo base logo and made it the Ohio Garrison and vice versa.
Yeah,
I have 15 of them coming. So I posted it last night on Facebook. I'm just waiting at the mailbox now.
Any merch, like any stuff you have though, if your garrison has, like, talk to your merch officer and say, hey, do you have any extra shirts that they just, it's a lot of times it just, because then you can trade them for some. Because I know like some of those garrisons, it's hard to get their merch.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Irish garrison, it's very hard to get their merch. They're very selective with getting their merch out.
So I'm in these the patch and coin trading groups, which
they'll have a big meet. Oh, dude,
that's it's dangerous.
You have to look up. Oh man, there was a guy from Maryland. Oh man, I forget his name now. He had a picture of himself with all his coins. He filled his bathtub.
In the bathtub. Yep, I've seen it.
Yeah, because I've trooped with him a lot. He got out. He sold all his coins by weight. He sold all those coins to someone by weight.
Jesus.
I know what coins cost. I'm like, to fill a bathtub, you might as well just fill it with $100 bills.
Right. Yeah, I mean, between $4 and $10 a coin, depending on what it is. Because I ordered some of the Never Stop Fighting merch.
Oh, okay.
Because I really wanted the Leia and the Vader coin that they have, the breast cancer awareness ones.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Michael Bender does a coin every once in a while too, a cancer research one.
Really?
Yeah, I have some of Michael Bender's coins. But yeah, when you go, they'll have a coin. You should find them when the coin meetup is at Celebration too. So that's the other thing you were asking about tickets. So for the podcast stage and stuff, every time we've gotten them, you go there and they'll have a queue where you just go in and you tell them your name, they look you up, and they'll give you your badges for your thing. Because last year for Anaheim, I could only get the badges individual days, so I bought all my badges, and then I went and got mine anyway at the thing just because I wanted the badge.
Now, aren't they media badges?
They will be either. I don't know if they'll be media or they'll be. Let me see. Hang on. Let me look.
Ken, I'm sorry. I know I feel bad because last week I played the world's smallest violin about Mike complaining about Celebration, and now
I don't know if they'll be media or exhibitor. If they'll be media or exhibitor,
right? But they're just the thing is like, oh, it's not like a standard like admission badge.
No, it'll be it'll be a different badge. But like,
you'll stand out.
One year Zoe was supposed to give media, but the exhibitor was Lando, and they couldn't find her media badge, so we'll just take the exhibitor. And then later on in Chicago, we couldn't get into 2 of the events because she didn't have a media badge. I was like,
oh no.
So
I don't know. I'm if everything works out, which I still am a ball of stress at the moment, I am super excited because this is we've talked about it. Well, what if Disney just takes over the putting on the celebration.
Yeah.
And they could not do the HoloNet stage. So they,
I think if Disney does it, it won't be a direct Disney. It'll be another company or a sub company of Disney.
Mhm.
Well, who does D23?
See, I don't know. I don't know if Reed Pop does D23 or if Disney does it, but I don't think at the front end we'll see anything different. Personally, that's what I think. Matt Martin's going now, so I get to hang with Matt.
There you go. Is Jordan going?
Jordan is not.
Ugh.
Because they cut the stage down, and Jordan had some projects that were going to limit him, so he couldn't commit. He couldn't commit far out, like when they were putting it together, because he has some. I think he has some Marvel stuff in the works or something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for me. It's like, finally get to leave the country for the first time and go to Celebration and be on the podcast stage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You hit a home run. You hit a home run the first year.
I know but it's making me.
He hit a home run the first time at bat.
Yeah.
That's the first time that you. I mean,
he didn't even tell us he was going up the bat.
No, I think.
He
joked around about it, saying, I submitted for.
Well, yeah, because when everyone else, because the Dad Batch posted about it, you guys posted about it, I was like, oh, well, guess I didn't get picked. And then 2 months later, it's like, can't wait to see you. Make sure your time looks good. I'm like, great, thanks. I would have started this whole process, 2 months.
Well, really, all you got to worry about your passport. I think you have plenty of time for that. So
I talked to the Buffalo passport agency.
Yeah.
I submitted all my paperwork on Monday at our local passport agency, not like the post office, not like any of the like regional ones. And so they were like, just keep your appointment on Monday. If you don't hear anything, if a check doesn't clear, if you don't get any updates about it, call us on the 23rd, because they do urgent travel within 14 days of your expected trip. So they're like, call and you might be able to get an appointment to get into to get your passport like super expedited. So I think
it could be okay.
I think so too, because literally, so you told me you guys got yours within 2 weeks.
Yep.
I have a family friend who didn't get his expedited or overnighted, got his in 3 weeks, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And then my mother got hers not last year, but the year before. And she got hers in 2 weeks in the middle of COVID, no less.
Yeah, I think they have those long extended dates just to make sure people, to cover their own butt if something does go wrong. But I think you'll be fine.
Right.
I'm just excited for you. I mean, I wish we would have recorded your thoughts on going to this year's celebration like a year ago. Like if we would have had a prediction show, if we would have had a prediction show right when I got back from Anaheim, none of us were going to Celebration, right?
Yeah, no, we talked about it. We were like, it's not going to work out. Like, it's too much. I mean,
how many times have you told us you weren't going, Mike?
I know. Right. I had no plans, and even when I got that notice, I was like, I can't take off work. And then I looked, and this is the longest spring break we have had in 21 years of me working in Cecil County Public Schools. We've always just had Thursday and Friday off for spring break. This year we have half day Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off.
Jesus, Murphy.
See, it's these moments that I hope the two of you are able to pause and reflect on how all of these forces aligned to make this happen.
Yeah.
I know I sound overly cliche when I say that forces work in mysterious ways. These things that you're talking about, I think, are fantastic examples of that. And it hasn't even happened yet. So while you're there, it's going to be even more momentous, more incredible. And I encourage you to either, take a bajillion pictures, write down 1,000 notes, do whatever you can to capture it, because it'll be the only time that you'll be able to experience that 2023 celebration in London together. All these firsts, you know.
Well, and you know what I'm looking forward to? I think more than anything in London, at
Fish
least,
and chips.
I think at Anaheim, a lot of people, like, they went to the Disney thing. You know, they had the Disney nights. They did a bunch of stuff, and it seemed like it kind of like watered down a little bit. Some of the like at Chicago, I felt like it was more concentrated than it was at Orlando or Anaheim, if that makes any sense. Because there was nothing to do in Chicago other than be in the rooms. So,
Yeah, that was the other part where like my parents were like, oh, you need to go sightseeing. It's like, no.
well, you
What?
might get to. I mean, you know,
My plan right now is to be engrossed in Star Wars. Like, I mean, if we end up doing anything on Thursday, if we're not all totally jet lagged from flying across the pond,
I'm getting my badge Thursday. That's my only thing I want to do.
yeah, that's like everything that I want to do is Star Wars centric. I don't care about seeing Big Ben or Parliament or anything like that. Because my dad's like, "Oh, you need to go see Big Ben." It's like, no, I don't care. If I were going to London just like as like a vacation, absolutely, I'm all for sightseeing. However, this is Star Wars Celebration. This is my first celebration. I
think you're going to be surprised.
Wait a minute, Ark is going. So Ark's going Wednesday to Wednesday. So we might run into Ark.
Now, are you flying back on Tuesday?
Yeah, like noon, I want to say, or something. I don't know.
I actually don't remember when I'm flying back now that I say it.
Yeah, which I got to, that's what I got to do is I got to pay for long-term parking too.
Apparently I'm flying out at 9:35 in the morning.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Well, let me see. Yeah, but what's nice is it's over Monday. Like, then you don't have to really rush out up a Monday.
Which I did not realize that.
It was Monday.
I thought it was Thursday to Sunday. I was shocked when I saw that it was Friday to Monday.
Yeah, I'm going at 12:35.
Did you guys happen to see Heather's note?
No, where?
I mean,
Where?
we might have an extra
She's in the
ticket.
chat.
Wait a minute. What chat? Where's my chat? Here, wait a minute. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, I have an extra ticket. So unless one guest comes through, but I know John has an extra ticket too. So I got an extra floor, Ken.
Ken, you got your passport?
Nope.
Oh God.
Well,
I'm in the same boat as John.
I got a really good printer, Ken.
oh, yeah. It's surreal seeing it like on the website. Just knowing, because like when I applied, I was like, I started this not even a full 12 months ago.
Oh, hey, Anthony's going. Yeah, well, you know, John, I bet you I'd like to see your dad showing his friends.
Oh my God, he's gonna lose his mind.
You know, he's probably already, yeah, that's my son. You know what I mean? I'm just saying from being one dad to another, you know.
Well, the funny thing is so when I got the email on Thursday, I was hanging out with a friend of mine here, and my mom and my sister had just gotten back from getting lunch, and my dad was coming up the stairs after getting off work, and I'm sitting there freaking out like, well, this sucks. Why didn't they tell me 2 months ago? I would have actually planned all this, you know, because my mind immediately went to, well, I guess it's glad to know they accepted me, but I'm not going to be able to go. And my whole family and my one of my closest friends, they're all sitting there like, what do you mean? Just go. So they all ponied up and talked me into it within a matter of 10 minutes. So
Nice. Yeah, I don't have any picture ops, Anthony. But yeah, well, the dark side of me was thinking, well, let's see if something happens and John doesn't go, that just means there's going to be 2 Spots for stores, Keith Curl.
Yeah, I'll just throw the. You're like, yeah, I'll definitely be there, and then just have Zoe put on a second panel.
So,
which hey, it's still a possibility.
Now, listen, it isn't. You'll be fine. You'll be as long as you don't have a heart attack. You'll be fine. Get yourself some Nicorette gum.
That's look, I psyched myself into it, and I paid the $70 for the flight protection.
Yeah, I did that. I didn't want to, but I was just like, yeah, I better,
Yeah.
Anthony, we're getting there Thursday, and we'll be leaving Tuesday morning. But I'm curious to see the Mando mercs in England, because I know, and maybe you know more about this, Ken, since you're a Mando merc. Is there a bigger presence? Is the United States the biggest group of Mando mercs?
Do we still have Ken?
Is Ken frozen, or is he just standing perfectly still?
I think we might have lost Ken.
Ken is. I thought he was just like thinking.
That's what I thought too.
None of us move enough. I'm so self-conscious of talking with my hands. That's why I have my camera off my hands.
I talk with my hands all the time. It's the Italian.
It's the Sicilian in me.
Yeah, well, the Sicilian Italian. Not many people know the difference.
Well, I don't know. You tell my Sicilian relatives that, they get a little angry.
Oh my god! If my grandmother was still alive, I definitely catch the wooden spoon.
Yeah. We had to pick her. Well, well, that's a nurse. Yeah, Ken's either thinking or he's frozen. I'm gonna guess he's frozen, but yeah, I'm wondering what the Mando merch presence is in England.
Yeah,
and I know.
Oh, is that Ken there?
Is that Ken? Let me see.
It's got to restart.
That's not me having computer problems. And if you're taking costumes with blasters, you have to have orange tips on them. So again, I might just print a second set of blasters for Zoe Sabine and paint the whole front end orange, and just leave I'll take them, assemble them there, and then just leave them. Like, give them to someone. Hey, here, you want some blasters?
Yeah. Yeah, I am. I'm nervous and incredibly excited.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be fun. I mean, I'm nervous of just going to London. I mean, just
I have never flown. I have never been out of the country, and I've never been to Celebration. Yeah, so it's just a nice little pot of first.
You know what I feel bad though is when you come back, it's mildly traumatizing to come back.
Yeah.
Like when we came back from Anaheim, I was just like, oh man, because I was dead tired. Like I was barely coherent, but I was like, oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. Well, God, unfortunately, Ken's not here, but well, he's here with us in spirit. He was talking about, the Force works in mysterious ways. What a bittersweet way to getting laid off. I mean, if I was still working, there's no way I was going to be able to take 6 days off.
That's true.
So
no, and I think too, if you look at things that way, it all becomes being prepared or being able to act on when things happen in life, and if you're rigid trees break, things that bend, you take, make lemonade out of lemons or whatever, all those sayings, stuff like that is the stuff that it makes things good. So, but yeah, and it'll be cool to hang with Anthony too.
Oh yeah,
Anthony, did you see all? I don't know if Anthony's still on, but they have all the podcast panels. So I would recommend everyone listening to. He got laid off. Anthony, you need any? Anthony, maybe you pick up a job out there, John. You're going to go there, and someone's going to offer you a good job, and you won't even come home.
Well, that's what my parents said. They were like, "Hey, someone can notice you while you're there."
Yeah.
So honestly, my biggest fear about, totally separate from, going there, getting there, what have you, is either my panel's going to be empty or it's going to be packed and I'm just going to wither.
Well, I'm trying to think. The podcast stage panels, like certain ones are going to be packed, but even Zoe's first panel, because the rooms are always bigger than what they think. I think her first panel had 60 people in Orlando. The panel I think the panel it had probably close to 60 in Chicago. And I think in Anaheim, she probably had 20 some. Just,
That's still more than the average listeners per episode that I get.
yeah. But, it's so what I did, they weren't as receptive in Anaheim, the podcasters from Podcast Stage. But what I'll probably do this weekend is I'll try to reach out to all the podcasts that are in the Podcast Stage. And we did this in Chicago, and I just got everyone to make a bumper. Just, hey, make a bumper. Let's just promote everyone's show. And if you're not going to a big panel, just even if you just want to sit down and don't really care if you listen, just support the other podcasters. So,
this is gonna be interesting for sure.
But again, you don't look at the audience who are sitting there as too much or too little. You just do what you do. I mean, someone read what you sent them and picked your panel.
True.
And it's still not too late to get guests. If you talk to some of your people that are going, I mean, for all you talk to someone and say, hey, look, I'm doing this panel. Like we picked up Steele at Anaheim hours before Zoe did her panel, and because it was just going to be her and Axel. And then we saw Steele and like, hey, you did Chicago. He's like, oh yeah, I'll jump in, and he would have done it this time, but he's not going. So.
Right. Yeah. My thing is like, I'm juggling a few different topics that I could potentially do. However, that is also intertwined with like, okay, well, if I want to do this, I should probably ask X, but if I want to do this, I should ask Y.
Have them both.
So, true.
See, you're lucky because your panel is on what, Sunday?
Sunday at 12:30.
And again, just like I said in the chat before, please don't listen to any of my advice. I just like giving it, but you also have the potential of giving a perspective of never being in a celebration before.
Right.
And sometimes that's neat to hear because there's a lot of people that have never gone. I'd never gone until Orlando, and I never knew I really wanted to go. I always saw it, but I was like, it just seems like too much money, too much travel. I'm not besides my Star Wars travel, I'm not a big travel guy. So.
Yeah. See, I like road trips without destinations. So
I just like my house. I worked too hard and too many years I had a crappy house my entire life, and I was like, I just like my stuff, and and which is not a good way to be, but so
I don't know.
Travel.
I am certainly enjoying the four walls that I'm contained in during my unemployment. So,
yeah. Well, again, like you said, it's perfect timing, and it might change your perspective on where you live for jobs, and like there's Lucasfilm jobs in London.
That's true. I need a work visa for that.
If you get to the point where you're worrying about that, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't believe, I applied as a joke, and for negating everything else of, not knowing until 6 days ago, it's just baffling to think like, oh, here we are.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's there's Ken. Ken is back. Can we hear Ken?
Let's see what happens now.
There we go. So Ken, before you got cut off, and we were talking about your saying how the Force lines up in mysterious ways, which is good. That's a good, I think you're right. Because I think I think Star Wars, at least in my life, I've had those super low points where you thought, like when I remember when I closed my store. So I was unemployed, but I was unemployed with no work history because I owned the business. And, Star Wars is what got me through. Did Ken freeze again? Oh, no, there you go.
I hope not.
You did, but then I think we need a Patreon page just to upgrade all of our equipment.
I think so. Something. Or a GoFundMe.
But I'm curious, Ken. What I was saying was, I wonder what the presence of the Mando mercs are in England compared to the United States. Like, is a large percentage of the Mando mercs in the United States, I would assume?
Yeah, there's 50 chapters around the world with about 1,200 or so members. There's probably a little bit more than that now, but that's rough estimate.
So they're about 10% the size, around 10% the size of the 501st. Because I think the 501st is floating around almost 14,000 people, if I remember correctly.
I'll be right back, guys.
Okay. So they're about 10% the size, you think?
Yeah, I mean, and the mercs haven't been around as long as the 501st, right? 501st has been around for quite some time.
25 years?
Yeah, so you're talking, at least a decade more than the mercs have.
Right. Well, the mercs are tougher. Like, it's tougher to create your own look in some ways, don't you think?
Oh, goodness, yeah. Especially like you were saying earlier, that because of the way that the CRLs are, you can't have this helmet with this type of armor. You can't have this armor with this gauntlet, or
right.
Even to the point of how some folks want to wear like a sleeveless duster or a sleeveless, whatever, to look like a cowboy. And you can't. There are a lot more rules to a custom kit than you would imagine.
Right, which pays off at the end. Because again, the first couple, and this is why they always talk about first impressions, or don't judge a book by its cover and all that crap. If I went by my first judgment of Mando mercs, I would have never even thought about them ever again. Because the first one I saw was terrible, but it was just what it was. It was, the material they had.
Yep.
But when you're sitting in a vacuum formed TK kit that has been using the same technology since 1977, and you can buy a vacuum formed TK kit for back then $750 or $800, the Mando mercs had nothing like that. They were taking.
Yeah. And what's even more amazing now is there are folks who will sell. They'll make their kit, they'll make their costume or whatever, and then they'll work on another one and they'll sell that first one. Yeah. I saw a Din Djarin, I think it was season 2, and the person was selling it for $6,000.
Oh yeah, I see that with Vader's, and I see that with I watch Chewbacca's because Marty makes Chewbacca's, and what people sell a Chewbacca for is ridiculous. Vader's are the same way. You'll see a Vader for sale for like $7,000-$8,000. I'm like, man, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it baffles me, and sometimes I think that the capitalism of it all has gotten a little bit extreme.
Well, I think the high end sales like that, in some ways, play on a certain type of people. They either play on the people who have a lot of money. And would you rather just, because some people would look, I want a really cool Vader. I just want to put it on. Yeah. And so to them, $7,000 is well worth it to them. But there also is a group of people that don't know any better.
Yeah, that's true too.
And that's what, I don't mind if you sell it to someone who flat out knows, look, I could build this for X amount of dollars, but I'd just rather spend this much. I don't mind that. I always worry about those people that were like you and I 10, 15 years ago before we got into it, that want to get into it and they take advantage of us before you know it. That's the people I always worry about more than anything. So because a complete kit on certain levels it is pretty nice. Like when you see some of these guys selling complete kits, but the Mando stuff, like it's just when I saw all those Mandos on screen.
Well, and what's interesting too about the Mando kits, part of the application process is you have to take the pictures, some with your helmet on, some with your helmet off.
Yeah,
because historically, from what I've been told, is that people would just submit the same pictures of somebody else.
yeah.
So the pieces are the same, but it was got approved by this person. And then on the other side of it, I've heard other weird things so there's lots of different pieces, and you can make the different pieces out of a variety of things. So let's take, the legacy chest armor, where it's the 2 chest pieces, the chest diamond, and the ab plate. So you're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the collar piece. You can make that out of expanded PVC or Sintra.
Yeah.
You can also 3D print it and so on. Sometimes what people will do is they'll start off basic. I mean, mine is made out of 3mm Sintra that's been heat formed and painted. If I wanted to upgrade my stuff, I could, let's say I wanted to upgrade my collar piece. I've heard of people who have, sold this old collar piece to somebody else, and when they were in the process of getting that new piece approved, they got booted out of the club because by not having that collar piece, now my costume isn't in compliance. So now you're no longer. So there's some weird stuff going on with some of the costume clubs.
Well, that's where the 501st isn't as picky as they look on paper. Because if you read on paper, they'll say, you have to be approved. And then if every time you change something, you have to get reapproved. I've never seen that happen.
Oh, really?
Guys will get a new helmet. They're just, they're in. Like they don't, unless you like if I take my TK and change it to a Sandy, I'd have to get reapproved. But when I change my bucket from the FX to the more accurate bucket, I didn't submit new pictures. My picture is still with my FX bucket, which I'll probably get a call now. Send those pictures. So yeah, that's the Mando Mercs, it's like the Clone Wars, when the animated Clone Wars was like the heyday. The Clone Wars was a weird thing because it really grew the Rebel Legion too, because clones fell into that. But it was the heyday of all that. And I think the Mando Mercs, especially with the Mandalorian, it's if I could lose just 20 more pounds, it's a much more wearable suit. Than even Boba Fett, and it's much more attainable. Because even Boba Fett with 3D printing, the legacy Boba Fett is still really pricey to build and get it right.
Because some of the parts are kind of specialized, like the little darts that are on the boots, and even the boots are challenging to find.
Yeah, the boots and the jumpsuit. I have seen guys build beautiful Boba Fett's, but they never check the color when they dyed their jumpsuit. And when they put it all on, you can't exactly voice what's wrong, but it doesn't look right. Yeah.
Maybe if I squint and look at it from a different angle.
In fluorescent lights, and you'll be fine. So,
well, one of my sets of application pictures, they got kicked back because I had Heather take them of me, and this is not a dig at Heather by any stretch. They said that the angle of the pictures was wrong. They didn't give me any comments on the costume. It was that the angle of the pictures they needed to be straight on, and she was taking them from a more artistic angle. Okay.
Well, that's what. Yeah, now our new CO doesn't seem to be this worried about that stuff, but we used to have guys that we could kick back for something that literally you knew it was just they were wearing something a little off, like their hand plates weren't all the way slid on, like literally it was perfect, but they didn't have their hand plates all the way down or something like that. Oh, there, Heather, you're in trouble now, Ken. You're talking about your photographer now.
I like I said, I didn't think it was a function of her photography. We didn't know any better. Well,
but besides Ken making fun of your photography, all of us costumers appreciate anyone that takes pictures. Because I don't know how it is with the Mercs, but we've had a shortage lately trooping of people to take pictures. Like it used to be when we would troop, you would have 5 or 6 people there with cameras taking wonderful pictures. And then again, with what happened with our garrison with blah, 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 then you'd have like one person there that could take pictures. And, you know, I always missed that because I used to love, like we would come back from Steel City and there would be so many pictures you couldn't even get through them all because so many people took pictures.
See,
And
what
now
I wish
you're
would
like,
happen is I wish that there would be a pooling of the resources. So, let's say you go to one of these troops where it's 3 days and you have, a bunch of people taking pictures on Friday, a bunch of people taking pictures on Saturday, and a bunch of people taking pictures on Sunday. Put them all in one place and let folks, because I may be in a picture that I didn't even know I was in. And that person may not even know me, so they may not offer it. But if we pool those resources.
That's where I think like QR codes and all these other things, all the costuming groups need something that you can say to someone, hey, look, if you're taking pictures, tag it in this, or have something to let people know, because with hashtags and everything else, it's just neat to see. Like you said, you get all these, I've had cool pictures taken with me I've never seen before, the best picture, one of the best pictures that came back to me, it's a sad story, but one of the best pictures, we did one of the movies. I think it was, I want to say it was episode 7, maybe. It was at Penn Cinema, and they had never heard of the 501st. So I called them up, and I said, well, when's your last showing, I think it was, or something like that? And he told us, I said, can we come in costume? I said, we'll pay for our tickets. We just like to come in costume. So I got, from the 501st, I got like 10 people. We all showed up. Now they give us free tickets. We didn't ask for them, but they give us free tickets. And we trooped it like we would normally troop. And I got a picture with a gentleman. And then probably like 2 years later, I got a phone call from this woman. This gentleman he had a substance abuse problem, and he passed away from substance abuse. But they opened up a charity for him to in his name to help people with substance abuse problems, because he was like you or I. Like if you would have seen him on the street, you would have just thought, hey, normal person. And one of his favorite pictures was him with his stormtrooper, and somehow they tracked it down, and it was me because I had the wrong ab buttons on. Because I had broken ab buttons, so I stuck a white ab button. So I had the wrong. I was like, yeah, that is me. And they invited me to one of the charity events and stuff like that. And that picture, I would have never seen that picture. I would have never, it was just me. I think I put my arm around him. He was holding my blaster or something like that.
Well, did I tell you about the? It's not as powerful as that story, but I ever tell you about the random? It's not necessarily random, but the story on their phone.
Yeah, that's tell that story. That's a good story.
Like, so I saw we had gone to an event in at the Air Museum down in Wildwood, and there was an artist there, and she had done these really wonderful helmet drawings on stickers that had Boba Fett's helmet with flowers and vines and everything. And so I asked if she did commissions. And so she did 2 commissions for me, one with my Kennex Gar Kabur helmet and one with the helmet that I'm working on for my next custom kit. And she made these stickers for me, and I was going to pick up the stickers, so we decided to meet at the local Home Depot. And while we're talking, there was, the artist, her husband, and one of their kids with us. And so we're talking, chit-chatting, the three adults. And at one point, the little guy says, so who is this guy? And the dad pulls his phone out and says, see this picture that we took of you at the museum? That's him. So he carries around this. I don't know if he still does, but for a while had a picture of me in my costume with his son that was taken at that event at the air show.
Yeah.
Or not the air show, but the Air Museum.
Well, and that's the neat thing about the Mando Mercs with that custom stuff. Like if people want a picture of the stormtrooper, I love being in the 501st. So I'm not knocking anyone who wants to be a stormtrooper. I love just being a stormtrooper. But when you put the love and time into a custom suit and people like it, not that you're doing it for that reason, you're doing it for you, but that's a good feeling too, Like and again, it comes back to my voice on charity. That might be the charity you need because you had a bad week at work. Like you can't put a price on that kind of stuff, like, because it does ground you in the sense that affected that child. It could be a fleeting thing. He could take it off his phone and have Fortnite on it the next day, or that could be something that just brings back good memories for that child all the time.
Well, and the other fun part about having a custom kit like the Mando is when you have a group of characters, like, yeah, that's me. Like,
Yeah.
that's because there's no other one that's exactly like that.
I'm always the shorter of the stormtroopers because every person that's 6'5" decided to be a stormtrooper. I look at anyone that's my only 501st anger. If you're like 6'3" and you're not doing a Vader, why are you in this 501st? Okay, just because every Vader I know fights to get that height, and then you'll have some guy that's like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". Oh, I'm going to do a stormtrooper. You feel like beating him with his bucket.
I'm going to be an officer.
Yeah, I like to be a very, like if I was Toga, I would just do Vader. If I was Toga, I'd just do Vader and the Death Trooper.
Now, I think Toga needs a Grogu costume.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm trying to get him to do a Ezra. Because I designed Ezra's one pistol, and I printed it, but I printed it off scale. I made it too big, so it's like Toga size.
And for those of us that don't know Toga, he's like 9 feet tall.
Yeah, I know. He does a Wookiee with just heels. His Wookiee, he just wears heels on his Wookiee costume. But yeah, I like seeing the Mando mercs because every merc has like their own swagger, and I think Brendan Wayne and Pedro Pascal and those guys that have done Mando have given Mandos even more of a swagger. Though I got to figure out how to put spur sounds in Mando costume.
Oh, I've already got an idea for that. You want to hear it? So you build a little box out of Sintra and hook it to your boot, and you use the cymbals from a tambourine. That's nice. I can't believe I just announced it for the world to hear, but that's what my plan was for my custom Mando. Is I wanted him to have spur sounds, and I was going to build this little thing that I was going to hook to the back of my boots that has the tambourine. I even have a tambourine just for that purpose. Oh, not because I'm in a band or anything. But
there you go. I was just going to put one of his little monkeys in mine. The monkeys.
Well, if it's Kowakian monkey lizards, then it'd be fine. Just put it on your shoulder.
Those monkey lizards, man. I feel bad for them though, because they're either getting roasted or being a pet.
Well, not if they live on Navarro.
Well, they were though on Navarro. Initially, they were getting roasted.
But now they're enlightened in Navarro. They're the Navarro Renaissance.
Now, also the slight not cynic. I don't know what you call it, but when I watched Mando, I was like, okay, they're going to be selling those cookies at Galaxy.
The Imperial ones.
Yeah,
the biscuits. They're going to have those and the red ones that they talked about.
Yeah, and they're going to have the glow-in-the-dark popsicles in some way, shape, or form. So, but, and you have to go on Three Demons, Ken, just before you even get your printer, and look at all their Star Wars weaponry. Because their weapon, it's a lot of it's not as good as the armor, whatever that John has, but some of their stuff is really nice, and they come out with a nice printout and everything. So I still like the heavy. I still like the heavy guy that Jon Favreau does the voice.
Paz.
I like that armor too.
I cannot imagine how heavy that has to be.
Dude, there was
it's
a girl,
lighter than you think.
I have the picture somewhere on my Facebook page. There was a girl, probably Safi size, that had built that armor, and it was so cool. It's if you ever see my pictures with the Bosk with the mask, it's with those pictures. And this girl, little, skinny little thing, built had a whole set of that with the big blaster and everything. It was cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
I still got to figure out how to do an echo. That's what I'd like to do.
Echo?
After I do the Pinto Din.
Season 1 or 2?
Probably season 1.
I like season 1. I like their non-armored things to watch. I don't like their non-armored as a costume. I mean, you know.
Well, one of the things I think is cool about the non-armored costume is it's now broadening what's possible. So you can be 5 different Echoes.
Yeah. Oh, and it shows you what's underneath, kind of too.
Yeah.
Like I liked in the Clone Wars when they had their armor off and they had the big, like cog, the on their shirt,
on their Under Armour T-shirt.
Yeah, they're you know,
their leisure wear.
Yeah,
athleisure. What is it called?
I was just thinking when Heather was on, I wonder if I could convince Missy to do a podcast where we just talk to squires. I don't know if Missy would do it or not. But,
well, what if it was a shared experience? Because I mean, Heather does enough Zoom calls with work that she's comfortable with the platform and that kind of thing, so we wouldn't have to worry about that. And she's 100% remote.
Missy's always like, I had a podcast thing as you guys think, but I might have to ask her.
Yeah, but it'd be a great opportunity to hear about Star Wars and trooping from that perspective of someone who has no desire to be in the costume.
Yeah, Missy used to have some funny stories because when we first started doing it, she would just laugh because she was like, all those people, they used to think we were all paid by Lucasfilm. You know, like when we were doing the Franklin Institute for the first time, they were like, she would hear this, Lucasfilm was paid all these people to fly. I'm like, really? Like, you know,
well, it is amazing what folks will say around other people without realizing that they're being heard or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, Heather does have some funny stories of things that she's heard, fans say, or even what the costumed people will say to each other, that not realizing that they're talking louder than they should because they got a helmet on and
it's always that new guy that forgot he has an amp on. Yeah. He's saying something almost inappropriate.
Yeah. Man, I can't believe how much my crotch itches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think I'm getting trooper rash.
Yeah, it is. And John's just stepping into this world, kind of, in the sense that it becomes the terminology and the things we do. Have you ever just thought, like, stepped back and like, wait a minute, I'm costuming and I'm an adult? Do you ever just, you know what I mean?
Well, not just that part, but even like you said, the terminology. I mean, squiring, handling, trooping, all of those things. It is its own language, and if you know, you know. If not, you're super confused.
Yeah.
And there are times where I've been at an event and I've either on the way to the event or on the way home from the event, I do have asked myself that question or make that kind of statement. Like, do you realize you're going to spend your whole day doing this, or you've just spent your whole day doing this? And
then there's days like we have the movie shoot coming up, which I hope the weather is good for that. Cause I don't know how, I just hope that it gets whatever, but,
those pink short shorts are going to be awfully hard to wear if it's 34 degrees.
No, I still think you need you know what you need? You need that skin colored suit, like spandex, but the one that makes you look like Sean Connery in that goofy
Zardoz.
Yeah, but you just need the undersuit and then the pink shorts.
See, the thing is, like, I'm so pasty white that I don't think I can get the undersuit to be the right color of opaque.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like, I'm so pale that I am like, you can almost see through me.
Well, we have plenty of people coming for that should be a good event. And I'm trying to tell Matt, just tell everyone to bring whatever, because if you need background characters, hand someone in a Tusken robe just any bucket, or just have no head on and just look like someone in robes. If you don't want a Tusken, just, don't overthink it. George never overthought it.
Yeah, I'm bringing my Narkina 5 costume.
There you go. So
I don't have the barefoot shoes.
Yeah.
The Hobbit feet.
Yeah, a student wore those. We had beach day, and a student wore those. Those are some creepy looking shoes. they're creepy looking shoes.
I can just borrow John's dad's pair that he's gonna get.
Yeah.
And John's dad's going to be there.
Yes, he will be.
I was joking around with Heather saying that I was gonna crash the hotel and just sleep on your floor the night before the movie shoot.
What hotel are you staying at? Or you don't know yet?
Haven't booked it yet. Usually we book hotels 2 or 3 days in advance.
Because I think there is one really close to it.
There is. Yeah, there's one that's like 10, 15 minutes down the road.
I mean,
My
there's
only
not
thing...
really much there. Columbia is that Columbia, the town of Columbia, which is...
I think so. I just, the right now, the weather is not looking favorable.
Yeah, well, I just hope whatever he decides soon. Like, I don't want to be... Like, I'm going to probably put a post up. Look, listen to what Matt says, because I don't want to be the person who has to relay the weather.
Well, you don't want to be the POC, point of contact?
I don't. Not for that. I'll be a point of contact for many things, but that's out of my range. But no, so we have, we talked very little bit about the Mandos and custom Mandos, but we talked about John going to his first celebration.
Be prepared. I don't know if how much room you have on your phone or whatever, but just be prepared to be able to take lots and lots of pictures. You'll be surprised at how many pictures you can shoot off in one day.
Well, and that's the plus side. Nowadays, you can just throw everything up on Facebook and grab it later.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm taking some juice packs. What I am going to do, which I didn't do last time, is I'm going to take a long enough cord that I can plug my juice pack in my pocket and still use my phone. Last time I did not have a long cord, and so I had to hold the phone and the juice pack, so
make sure it doesn't cover your camera at all.
Yeah, so I'm just going to have one. If it's low, I'm just going to run the wire right up my sleeve and have it hanging in my wrist so I can plug it in. I have at Chicago. I have a 20-minute video of the inside of my pocket because I must have played when I was putting it in my pocket. So, and it's not even any. I wish it was good audio. It's not even good audio.
It's all muffled.
So, but yeah, juice packs. I got to get a converter so we can charge all of our stuff. So.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because it's
don't plan on driving while you're over there. I'd be afraid of you two guys driving on the wrong side.
Taking the subway, man. That's what everyone on the one board was like. Just take the subway.
Take the tube.
Yeah. So, I mean, nothing like after a 7-hour flight, getting on a 1-hour flight or 1-hour ride. But the airport, it was very cost prohibitive for me to go to the closest airport. Like for one person, it was a lot, but for 3 people, that was too much to pay extra.
Yeah.
Because what's the airfare, like $700?
I paid $598 a person.
What?
Huh?
I paid $900.
Yeah, but you're going further. You're coming from Cleveland. Also,
by way of South Carolina.
See, that's my only gripe with Celebration is I don't know why they do it on holiday weekends. Like
that too.
Because the first celebration we did was in Orlando, and Missy's mom passed away that Saturday. We could not get a flight home to be with her family. We were stuck in Orlando, so yeah, and I always hate when I understand. I'm sure there's more reasons, but when they do it in late August, that when they were going to do that one in late August, but it got to COVID. That really hurts a lot of the people that go to college and schools and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I think some of these companies have to maybe rethink how they do things.
I want to know how they landed on Easter weekend.
Yeah, I don't.
Because I mean, what last year it was in May.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be in August in 2020.
Yeah, the August one would have been a nightmare. And
then wasn't it in June? The year before that?
No, Chicago was Easter weekend. Orlando was Easter weekend.
Okay. So they like spring.
I often wonder too if because they don't really know, they don't like to announce ahead, they have to book late.
Mm-hmm.
you know, so they just have to pick whatever's left.
We should see if we can get one of the the people from Celebration to be on a show.
Yeah, well,
Ask them that
Mary
those
Franklin did
questions.
Zoe's show a couple times. She used to be in charge of Reed Pop, but now she works for Crunchyroll.
Well, I mean, we could ask her those general kind of questions, like how does the date get selected?
Yeah.
Why do you feel the need to torment people in these ways? Why do you?
Well, maybe John should apply for a Reed Pop job
No, Crunchyroll job.
or Crunchyroll. No, Reed Pop would be, because Reed Pop does all the conventions and you get to travel.
Right. I sold a car to someone who worked for a convention booking company.
Because I looked into Reed Pop because I was looking for summer work one time. I was like, oh, maybe I'll just go work for Reed Pop, but they didn't have anything that was just summer. Because I thought as a teacher that'd be a fun job, you know. And then I decided I just like July not to work.
So we didn't talk about it much, but what did you think of this week's episode of Bad Batch?
I liked it.
Gorgeous.
Again, it did the same thing that it did in Mando. I don't know what they're setting us up for. Like I sometimes I can always picture what Filoni's what's going through his head. This one, because at first when that big tidal wave was coming, I thought that they were almost going to be like Noah's Ark, kind of like almost like Battlestar Galactica, like a ragtag fleet of and they'd be like the protectorate of these people. But they basically just put themselves out of commission for how many months?
Yeah, and I think that's part of what they're setting up.
Yeah.
Because it's giving them an opportunity to do non-soldiering stuff. It's giving them an opportunity to have Omega be around other kids. It's giving them an opportunity to do these things without at least the way they built it so far, without the fear of the Empire showing up. Still could, but you know, where they said that we don't have a lot of resources, the Empire wouldn't necessarily have to come here. I think the other piece that they're setting up is the possibility of being betrayed by Sid.
That's true, because that little, yeah.
And that's where I think where even though they said the Empire wouldn't go there because they don't have a lot of resources, they could be figuring out a way of setting it up so that the Empire goes to Pabu to look for the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Because right now you've got Crosshair in that cloning facility, and they're doing stuff with him. There's the possibility that they may send Crosshair or other folks to Pabu to get the rest of the Bad Batch and Omega.
Just get Omega and
to get their genetic material. And Sid may be that connection piece, that linchpin.
Or do you think there's going to be a time skip between this episode and next?
There might be, but I don't know. I think that they will show up on. I think the next episode will be connected to Pabu some way, shape, or form, and that's where the betrayal of Sid. And I'm surprised because I had said this early on when we were talking about not early on this episode, but early on in the season, that I wasn't really a fan of the Fee character. You know, the Wanda Sykes character. Yeah. But this episode, it flipped me 180 degrees. I'm like, this is very unexpected.
Well, I think my first impression of her, I kept thinking of her as Wanda Sykes.
Yes.
And this one I didn't at all. I thought of her. And it wasn't anything about how they wrote her or whatever. It was my own biases, you know, towards her. She has such a unique voice. It's hard to separate, you know.
Yeah, like if they had the voice of the snowman from Frozen, it would pull you into that. Yeah, I agree. Wanda Sykes is very distinct, and it's hard to see that hear that voice coming out of somebody that's not her. But I was pleasantly surprised that in this episode I'm like, wow, she's pretty cool character. I mean, the fact that she took the Bad Batch to Pabu on purpose, knowing that it was a secret place, knowing that it was special to her.
Yeah.
and knowing that there would be families to meet and people that trusted her and people that relied on her, and now she's bringing these coworkers to this place.
I was picturing also them running into Alderanians. Because remember the Dark Horse, I don't know if you remember, the Dark Horse comic had those groups of people that were searching the meteor field of Alderaan, looking for their treasures and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I was picturing something like that.
Well, I thought we might see a Lestat too.
Oh yeah.
You know, one of Zeb's, because they
Wonder
said
how
it
that
was
would
a
look in
place
that kind of animation.
What's up?
Wonder how that would look in the
Yeah. Oh, I think Clone Wars and Rebels are similar styles. They're not 1-to-1 matches, but they are similar.
Yeah.
I think it would look closer than, let's say, the Droids cartoon.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the other thing is, when that tidal wave was first coming, just because I know the stuff that Dave Filoni has done, I said to Zoe, "Do you think that island is like the back of a big animal?" Like at first, I pictured it. You know what I mean? It being
A
like
giant tortoise,
a Purgle type turtle, like a giant space turtle or something like that. You know. But
would that be a Spurtle?
Yeah, a turtle.
A space turtle?
But yeah, that was a good episode. It's hard having two Star Wars things though, because I feel like I'm shortchanging one or the other, you know. And the Mando episode was kind of long this time.
Yeah, it was like 50 minutes.
Yeah, which again could go along with what John was saying, like since it was longer. But if you did action per action, it had less action, and it was a longer episode. You know, which was fine, but that could also just be the way it watched differently too.
Yeah, they really buttered you up with, it's going to be 56 minutes long. And then you watch it and you think like, oh my God, it's going to be 50. It's almost an hour of nonstop action with Mando and Bo-Katan.
But can you imagine if it was regular TV, like when constriction of time, you would have got that little bit of action, half of that story on Coruscant, and then next week you would have got another Coruscant and a little bit of action. That would have made it feel much different.
Yeah.
I do think it's really, really funny that they're showing more of the office setting of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So they had it in Andor, where Cyril was in those little cubicles. They had it in this episode of Mando. Although I also thought it was really weird that what's that group called? Like the relocated whatever. Like they didn't use their names. They gave them
I know,
like the Imperials did.
Well, you know what? It reminded me of the space race at the end of World War II, when both Russia or the USSR and the United States were snatching up Nazi scientists, and they didn't care what they did. Oh, sorry, you killed a lot of people. Well, look, if you're good with rockets, we'll give you amnesty and you come join. And if you read about some of those scientists, they were terrible people, but because the United States needed them. And I felt that it gave me that almost that reminiscence of something like that. Like the Republic was kind of taking as many as they could, and they were going to sort them out with their retraining facilities and stuff.
Yeah, I thought with that in mind, though, it was weird because it's not as if the jobs that they gave them were related to anything that they did. I mean, that one, right. Pershing was organizing data files, not even digital ones, but the actual physical ones. Like he was filing things.
Yeah, but I looked at it as like, okay, look, this guy knows this, but now we at least know where he's at. You know what I mean? Here's your life. It's not too bad. You can be a citizen, but we know where you are 9 to 5. That was pretty weird. Plus, I thought, what I thought was weird was like, okay, you're not a space Nazi anymore, but here your uniform is basically the same thing.
Well, and we're gonna let you all live in the same apartment complex.
Yeah, there won't be any problems there.
That's dumb.
It's like a halfway house almost, if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're gonna release you from prison, and then we're gonna stick you with other former prisoners.
Yeah. But, as dumb as that sounds, that's what we do in real life. Like
Yes.
as much as they're like, we're saying, but that's what they've done. I mean, if you want to, have you ever there's a podcast called Good Assassins. I don't know if you ever listened to it.
No, not yet.
And it's about after World War II, the special forces or special police of Israel, they went hunting down Nazis, and they would execute them like in another country. Like they would find them, read them their whatever what they did wrong, and they would execute them like right there on foreign soil. And Good Assassins was talking about how like some of the most terrible Nazis were like working for NASA, but because they knew stuff about rockets, and so some of these special forces Israelis would just go and assassinate them and just leave the like it, boom and done and go, you know. And what it made me think of, the Republic, they were stuck in a hard place because you could throw all these people in jail, but then you need to spend money to keep them in jail, which then keeps them as a enemy. Or can you just assimilate them and just hope, like, if you stick them all together, then no one's going to run into them when they're getting groceries, you know, like I don't know. It's just, it is a weird thing when you think about it.
Well, and just the idea of indoctrination as well. So they had, you know, they worked in the empire, and so much so that they missed the cookies, they missed the biscuits or whatever they were called.
Yep. Well, I mean, you think about, I've never been in the military, but I know people that have been in the military, and there is that sense of belonging that you don't have to look much further. Like you don't have to look at the big picture. You just look at, okay, it's me and my X amount of friends. Like all those people that were on those ships that were like, if you think of the size of a Star Destroyer, and if you were the guy in charge of the toilets, you wouldn't really care who was blowing up who. You probably never even got to look out of spaceport, but you might have been a good engineer. You know what I mean? Like, or when you look at Rogue One, and like what's his name? He was just a pilot. You know, he was just, and then he all of a sudden wanted to help. But there were just people that were just like, hey, I need a job. We need a pilot. You know, you can fly a ship.
Yeah, and even in the real world, there are some folks who go in the military not because they necessarily want to serve. They go in for the job. They go.
Right.
You know, I know several people who from high school went into the military for those reasons.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to go to college. I don't have, you know, many. I don't think I have many options out here, so I'm gonna join the Army.
Right.
You know, I'll get.
Well,
some
I mean,
training.
that was a career path when I was in school. It was before we had all the wars we have, but there was friends of mine who went to be like tank mechanics. You know, Commander Chris is here. So yeah, that's just a neat thing with the Empire. I mean, not the neat thing with what they're doing. They're addressing all this stuff that maybe in 1977, I don't think we really would have cared when it was on. We weren't thinking that deep. We were just like, that's some cool spaceships, you know. And people look at. I don't think in 1977 George Lucas ever pictured someone watching and rewatching a movie in their house.
No, I think he had that idea in mind. Maybe not to the place where we are now.
Right. I mean, I think he knew we'd have home movies and stuff like that. But I think even to the point of he might have had a glimpse of VCRs possibly, but I think DVDs even made it bigger, because even in the days of VCRs, you felt like every time you watched it, that's one less time you're going to get to watch it. You know, for anyone that had a VCR back in the day, you always had that good tape that the tracking just mangled up the, you know, beginning of the movie.
Well, I definitely don't think he was at a place where, you know, you would think that you're going to watch, you know, a movie on a device this big,
right,
and be able to watch anything anywhere.
Right. Like you'd have a whole Lucasfilm library. Like we all have, for pennies, really, we have an archive that would be unrivaled 30 years ago. You know. And
sadly, there still are a lot of movies that I can't find digitally.
Yeah. Commander, we were talking about everyone going to Celebration. except for Ken.
Except for Ken.
And then we talked a little bit about Mando Mercs, and we were off topic pretty much on everything else. But now we're just finishing up with Mando and the newest episode. So
I still continue to be amazed at how great the shows look, whether you're talking about the Bad Batch or even the Mandalorian. I mean, that tenement housing that they were living in, it looks like you could walk into any of those apartment rooms.
That's going to be the economy version of the Star Cruiser. And you'll get a biscuit.
One biscuit on your pillow. That's all you get. You don't even get a towel animal, just a biscuit.
Right.
No Camtono.
The towel animals. One time, Safi, when she was younger, always had to travel with stuffed animals. So the first time we went to Disney, it was a big deal, and she took all these stuffed animals. She set up the whole room. They went nuts on towel animals, the house cleaning. Like they just towel animal the crap out of like everywhere. They probably spent way too much. They probably got in trouble for the amount of time they spent in our room. So
one year we went, and so each time we've gone to Disney World, we've given the kids allowance, and this is one of the times when they were really young, and $50 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So we gave them each $50, and Derek decided to buy a 26, 35-inch whatever Stitch stuffed animal. Like it was so big it didn't fit in his luggage, and he had to carry it on the plane with him. And there was one day we came back from a day at the park, and they had stretched toilet paper from the bathroom all the way out onto his bed and tied it around Stitch's hand.
That's
as if
funny.
Stitch was the one that had made the mess in our room.
Yeah.
So that's only funny until you have to clean it up.
Well, they didn't have to. It was we got that joy, but it was
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and they left an extra roll there to compensate.
Oh yeah. Well, that's I just remember the my girls were just picking apart the costumes of Star Wars weekends. They're like, Marty's Vader's better than that. Like little Safi's like, yeah, and that Stormtrooper's this is wrong and this is wrong. I'm like, oh, I've raised costume snobs.
I wish they would bring that back.
Yeah, I know. That was fun.
Only time I've been to Disney, we accidentally went on Star Wars weekends, and my mother and my sister were pissed.
Really? Are they anti-Star Wars?
Yes. My mom hates it. My
Really?
sister likes the Phantom Menace, but that's it.
That's weird too. That she just likes that movie.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, didn't
But-
you name a cow after Jar Jar?
Apparently, Mr. Binks has gone to live up the road now, so because
Oh, okay.
he's been antagonizing the sheep.
I am
so.
curious why your mom dislikes Star Wars though. That seems like a big part of your father's life. Like that's
Maybe that's the reason. It's
show her a Rey doll and ask her show her where Star Wars hurt her.
right here in my heart. It hurt me in the heart.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's maybe because my dad and I put too much thought, time, energy, money into Star Wars, so she sees it as a waste.
What
No, I
year
hate
did you
to
go
tell
to
her. Men are
Star Wars weekend?
people in general are just good at spending their money on something. If it wasn't Star Wars, it would be something else.
Yeah. Well, it's Star Wars and horses is what my dad spends his money on, and the horses aren't for him. So,
Well,
Ken, I think we went in 2008.
Okay.
I think it's been long enough that I don't remember.
wait a minute, let me think when I went. We went.
Did Mike freeze?
No, I was thinking when we went. We went 2000. We probably went. Oh man, I'm trying to think how old the girls were, but I don't know. Ashley Eckstein was there the first time we went, I think. Or no, Ashley Eckstein was the second time we were there. I don't know.
Yeah,
But we lucked out. The one time we went, there was like 6 people from my garrison there marching in the parade.
Really?
Kind of cool. Yeah, I think we might have went in 2000. I want to say 2010. I don't know. I loved it. My wife forced me. She reminds me of this all the time. I did not want to go to Disney, man. I just pictured a giant ton of my money just getting sucked out of me. And we went down there, and I felt that it was dollar for dollar, well spent, and it was worth every penny. Like I was ready to go. Like I was thinking about my next trip. Okay, when can we go?
The funny thing is, because I would have been 8 or 9 years old when we went. I don't remember anything except for everything that we did that was Star Wars related.
Yeah. Well, the first time we went, they still were using rubies type suits.
Mm.
And then the second time we went, they had really good suits. They had a Rex that was awesome. He looked like he just stepped out of 500 first. They had, it was really cool. I just liked it. I just, I'm sure I'm going to go on the Star Cruiser one of these days. And,
well, they dropped the price.
Yeah.
Did they drop the price, or did they give you discounts on additional nights? I thought.
I don't know. I just saw a headline that said that the price has changed.
Oh, okay.
It's changed, but I don't think, if I remember correctly, it wasn't like it was. If you weren't going before because of the price, I don't think the price changed.
Yeah, I don't think they went from $5,000 to $2,000.
But see, the Star Cruiser to me personally is not really made for a family of 4. It's made for 4 people that love Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Like if 4 people went and paid individually, it's really not that expensive. But if you have a family of 4 that go, and maybe 2 of you like Star Wars and 2 are indifferent, you're paying a lot of money for something that 2 people might not like.
Well, your case,
Sal loved it.
In your case, you got 3. 3 out of the 4. I think that's a win.
Missy will be into it. Missy is more into it than she admits. It's just she's just not a costume person yet. I'm working on it.
Keyword is yet.
I've been in it long enough to know that I've seen too many guys coerce their significant other into a costume, and the best way to get yourself not to be able to do it as much is to do that. Because if someone doesn't want to wear a costume, I don't care what costume it is. I don't know how many guys I saw help their wives get into costume X, Y, or Z, and they hated it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't want to wear a costume and then they stick their wife in a like I've seen them stick them in officers. Well, if it's not your wife's not into it, she's not going to be into it in an officer's uniform. Plus, then they can see her face. And if she's not into it and you stick her in a Tuscan, you might as well just get the divorce now because that's uncomfortable.
That's when you gotta. I mean, if you're gonna do it, you just gotta go all out, get them in a TK, make them miserable because you're gonna get divorced either way.
Yeah.
So at least make it fun.
At least get a suit for it. No, but I mean, like Missy enjoyed it. I mean, honestly, what got Missy out of it was when our garrison just went nutso on the rules. And she was just like, I don't need this shit on the weekend. You know what I mean? But when it was just, but when they came out with this long list of handler rules that you had to follow to the T, she was like, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's like,
handle this.
I deal with enough children during the week, and I need to deal with other children on the weekends.
That are adults.
Yeah. But
children in adult-sized bodies.
I'm not taking any new projects till I get Vader done and my Din done.
Ahsoka, and then Sabine.
Well, Ahsoka and Sabine. See, with my kids' stuff, once I start that, I'll bang that stuff out. That's like, that's the easy stuff. The Sabine, only reason I'm dragging on the one season of Sabine is I just don't like that costume. It's just I don't like that yellowish one, the yellow and purple one.
Oh, don't tell Zoe.
I know. I just don't like that one. But I'm also waiting to see the live action one. So Judah's going to be there. So I told him I'm going to borrow his phone and just stare at his live action Sabine if I don't see pictures at Celebration.
I think it's funny. You say, you'll bang it out real quick. Yet Sabine is so much more involved than Vader.
Oh, I know.
And you're like, oh, that's easy. This is the easy stuff, even though it is more time consuming and more thought provoking.
It's for my kid.
I know.
Yeah, I will be that way to the day I die because I grew up with no one like that for me. So you have a father and a mother. And I'm not saying we all have, and I had a good life. I have no complaints, but I had no one in my corner.
Hold on, I got it reverse here. I've got my dad who's supportive, but I build his costumes.
Right. But what I'm saying is, you like when I was a kid, it just all fell on me. You know, like if I needed a car, it fell on me. If I needed, like when I started dating Missy, I built her first car for her. You know what I mean? That's just how it rolls. And I enjoy it. I could work on my kids' stuff more. I just want warm weather. I just want Pennsylvania weather to be. I just want to know. I don't want to wake up and it's 20 and then come home from work and it's 60. I want just give me some weather that I can plan ahead. Because man, I can't afford to waste spray paint now. The cost of spray paint with orange peel in cold weather.
Oh my god!
So I saw a guy doing spray paint in cold weather, and I never thought of this. He would bring out warm water and keep spray cans in warm water.
I saw that,
and so I was like, oh, that's a good idea.
Right, but like it's still gonna be cold when it's drying.
Well, see, when I did Zoe's first Sabine, it was cold. It was around Thanksgiving. It was freezing cold. So what I did was I brought the helmet in because I did her Sabine for everything in 4 days. And I just came home and I had to I didn't have any pictures or anything, but I would keep everything in the house nice and warm. I would run out, spray it, take the can back in, and then let the helmet sit out there for about 20 minutes. And I'd bring it in and sit it in my washroom and let it dry because I had to do all those layers. Mm-hmm. And that worked out pretty well.
Well, the other piece of that is that the spray paint and the material are the same temperature.
Yeah.
Because when there is that difference in temperature, that's when you run into some of those other problems.
Because I started that, I think I had 7 days before Steel City or something like that, and I built a complete Sabine other than the sewing, and a complete Tuscan in 7 days.
Jeez.
I had 2 folding tables in the kitchen, and I would work on Zoe's, paint it, then I'd run over and I'd be working on the Tuscan. And every day after work, I did that from like 4 o'clock till midnight every day after work.
I'm sure you were just real chipper, full of energy.
Oh, I was like caffeine, That was my first. That was my second, I think, Steel City. Did the armor. Or no, droid hunt.
Mm.
So,
I love how we talk every week about, we're going to get this under wraps. We're going to get this time slot. We're going to be real.
2.5 hours is pretty short for
We're going to be organized. We're going to have a topic.
I think we're doing better. Listen to a year ago. We sound like pikers. So, well, here, we can wrap it up. Let's,
What? You're done? I didn't know you were done.
I could go on forever, but then I'm like, I don't have to work Friday. I'm off. So I might go see Shazam tomorrow.
I don't have to work Friday either. We're going to go to the Franklin Institute to see the 100 Years of Disney exhibit.
Did you see Kerwin and Keith did a whole thing at there? They did like a hosting thing.
Damn it. No, I didn't.
We need their PR. So here we wrap it up. I'm just going to talk podcast for my wrap up. You guys can all go on yours, but if you get a chance, I'm going to put a list out of all the ones that are on stage by this weekend. So if anyone gets a chance, check them out. At least send them support, whatever. But if you Father Son of Galaxy, Kerwin's birthday was today. So if you're listening, the 2 people, you guys jump on his Facebook or Instagram and wish Kerwin a happy birthday. And to close it off with podcasts, besides ours, okay, but we have John's podcast, which is not even a year old, right? Or is it a year old?
Nope. May 4th, it'll be a year old.
May 4th. So he's going to be on the Star Wars stage, which is awesome. Ken has the Rambling Star Wars fan. I don't know what's going on with CreatorCast, so I can't.
Well, we also just put out another episode of The Forces Behind Star Wars. The Demetrius interview is up and ready to be listened to, I think.
Right. So there we go. So we have all these podcasts, and then the other 2 standouts I was thinking is the Father Son Galaxy, which I think theirs is like 2 years old, which is an awesome podcast, and the Dad Batch. That's some of the ones. The Dad Batch to me is besides ours. Like I listen to ours and Zoe's religiously, but the Dad Batch that's my Friday driving to work. is the Dad Batch, and they're going to be on the celebration stage. So I just want to thank all those Star Wars podcasters, because podcasting is a thankless job. Like it is. Like you either think you have tons of people or no people listening. It doesn't seem like there's ever a happy medium.
Yeah, I think we're almost up to the tens of listeners now.
Tens of listeners. Nice. So, but if you do it for why, I just like talking to you guys. And if one person enjoys it, if Commander Chris enjoys it, or we make your wife laugh, I'm just looking at our last one, or Anthony.
Anthony got on with us a little bit tonight.
So that's fun.
Let's not sit here and pretend like we're doing this because we love podcasting. This is an excuse for the three of us to sit down on a consistent basis and just chat about Star Wars.
1,000,000 times, yes.
100% yes. And honestly, it should be a lesson to all of us too. It is a good maintenance of your friends in some ways. Like I think of all the friends over the years that have just fallen off. Not that they're not my friends anymore, but it's easy to just let friends drop off. And we've all committed to at least spending a little bit of time with each other every week.
Mike, at this point, you are stuck with us for the rest of our lives. I don't think there's any falling off between the three of us.
Nope.
I mean,
and I'm planning on living to 101. Just saying, because I can only go like 2 years without playing with Legos.
Because there's that limit on there.
99. I think you can only play with them till you're 99.
Speaking of 101, I don't know why this just made me think of it. Totally irrelevant news. Granted, welcome to the inflatable Falcon. I got my dad to watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy for the first time.
Oh, what do you think of that?
Well, okay, so it started because I have Aragorn's ring, and I wore it out because I found it in the midst of all of our spring cleaning. And they asked me like what the ring was, and I explained it to him. My dad was like, "Oh, one of our volunteers was quoting Lord of the Rings at me," and I told him like I just don't understand. And I was like, Dad, you need to sit down and watch the Lord of the Rings. Like, don't do anything else. Just sit there and watch it.
So we had 9 hours to spare.
Well, so I convinced him after we went and got lunch. I'm like, let's go home. Let's watch the Fellowship of the Ring. See what you think, and we'll go from there. So he didn't look like he was like totally engrossed in it because I love the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there, and I was casually like watching him, and I'm like, so, well, what'd you think? And he was like, it's better than I thought. Because like he's like, oh, I've tried, I just didn't care for it, couldn't get into it, whatever his excuse was. And he's like, oh, I thought it was pretty good. I'm like, so are you gonna end up watching the next one? He's like, well, it's only 9:00, and I really need to know what happens now. So we watched The Fellowship, The Two Towers, called it for the night, and then the next day we finished the trilogy and watched Return of the King. And then I think next weekend we're going to try and watch the Hobbit trilogy. So.
I have the Hobbit cartoon.
The Baxi one?
The original one?
Yeah. And I used to have the Rankin Bass, the Fellowship of the Ring, which is really good. If you ever get it, like you can probably find it on YouTube. If you ever see that, because you can see how that influenced the movie. Because there's a couple of those scenes, like when Boromir gets killed by the orcs, very close to that, which is very close to the book. I read those books, like I probably read those series like at least twice before I was in high school.
So in high school, undergrad, and the grad school, maybe even a year or two after grad school, I would read the trilogy every summer.
Oh, nice.
They were fantastic. Didn't matter how many times I've read them, I still loved going back to them.
Yeah, I love them.
I was a dork before you guys knew me.
I love them because I started playing D&D in 6th grade, I think. And that was one of the reference books. And I had already read The Hobbit because I had an hour bus ride. And my two kind of friends on the bus were Doctor Who people, which I had no interest in, but they read The Lord of the Rings. So we just talked as elementary school students as deep as you could talk to about all the dwarves and stuff like that. So,
yeah. I just got the audio book for The Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
So.
The books, what's that?
One of the gifts that Heather got me for Christmas was these sculpture bookends. So you've got Gollum
Oh, nice.
and Frodo.
Hmm.
So I've got this one and I've got another one. But yeah, so yeah, I'm a fan of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and stuff.
Yeah,
Very nice.
that was a good. I remember when those movies came out. That was good. Like that. If I was 10 when, or yeah, 10 or 9 when Lord of the Rings came out, that could have possibly been my Star Wars.
Makes sense. But yeah, so that was my last little bit of nerd culture that happened this week.
That's
I get him
awesome.
playing D&D, and you've fully transformed him.
Oh my god! If I can get him to play D&D, that would be
Maybe he's the converted that they were talking about in
maybe.
The Mandalorian.
I have that D20 something online D&D thing. I pay.
Yeah, the Roll20.
Yeah, Roll20. We just play a. Well, Zoe's just finished the first season of Critical Role, watching their YouTube thing, and she got me to watch their cartoon. You know, their whatever their.
The Legend of Vox Machina.
Yeah, it's pretty good. The one woman that does some of the voices was one of the women that Zoe did the panel with at in Philly.
Laura Bailey,
Bloom's wife.
Ashley
This was a
Johnson.
guest appearance. I forget her name. She did Price on Rebels.
Governor Price?
Yeah, Governor Price. She did Governor Price's voice. I forget her name. I think it starts with an M.
Mary Elizabeth McGlynn.
Yes. Yeah, her and Steve Bloom were on the panel that Zoe did. So at not Celebration, whatever it was in Philly.
Fan Expo.
Fan Expo. Was it? I don't think it was Fan.
Might have
Expo.
been Wizard World at that time.
No, I don't think it was Wizard World. It was. I don't know. It's the one that's not coming back. But it's not Wizard's World. It's the other one. But
Well, that's a good place to wrap it up.
yeah.
I agree.
Well, John, I have all faith in the U.S. passport service. You'll be ready to go, and
I thank you for the offer of the ticket. I really appreciate
and you
it.
just go get your passport tomorrow.
Yeah, just call, make an appointment.
Ship you off, and we'll figure all the rest out.
I was
Look.
joking around with Heather saying I can't sell enough blood or internal organs to to pay for the flight.
You just hang on the wheel. Just hang on the wheel.
Yeah,
You know,
Take
I
a
think
boat.
we should talk to Anthony. There should be a travel budget in Forces Behind Star Wars. He's got all that. He got all that esports. He should get some kickback from esports for travel.
I agree.
All right, guys. Thanks for. We still have one person listening, so
That's
Ooh.
probably me.
okay. Well, thanks, Ken. Thanks for joining us. We should just make up fake names and just chat in on our own thing. All right, guys. Good night. I will post this up probably Friday on the other. So, good night, everybody. Let me turn the live off. Oh, I guess I got to do our outro. Man,
Thanks, Commander Chris and Ark.
yeah. All right.
Heather.
Here's our
And Heather.
outro.
Well, you look the part, but let's see some of your moves.
Feeling like a star, you can't stop my shine. I'm loving how skinny, my head's in the sky. I'm solo, I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo, solo. Yeah, I'm feeling good tonight. Finally feeling free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess, everything's alright. Oh, no job but an answer to. Ain't a fixture in the palace zoo. No, and since the carbon nights off me, I'm living life now that I'm free. Yeah, so me get myself together. Now I got myself together. Now I made it through the weather. Better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy the car night is gone. I'm moving